Afternoon. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and welcome to this will be my final video prior to the snowstorm or winter storm tomorrow, the 19th of February, for the Hampton Roads, Southeast Virginia area. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the latest data. We're getting now within the 24-hour range of the storm, so the models, especially today at midday, have really aligned as far as where the heaviest bullseye of snow will be, as well as the amounts, at least the range is really coming into clear focus for Southeast Virginia and Hampton Roads. So let's start things off. I'm going to kick things off with looking at the model snowfall forecasts. Before I do that, though, let's examine something very interesting, and we need to look at this every time it snows. It's called snow to liquid ratios, SLRs, snow to liquid ratios. And so over here on the left, in the upper left, you see the snow ratios and the temperature. So when we look at ratios, and what this first number indicates is the amount of snow, the 1 in each of these indicates liquid equivalent. So 1 inch of liquid is what the 1 represents. And you notice over here on the temperature scale in degrees Fahrenheit, the colder the temperatures get, the more we go down the scale, the higher the snow to liquid ratios are. So for example, if we're generally right around 32 degrees, maybe slightly less than that, you generally have a 5 to 1. 5 inches of snow is equivalent to 1 inch of liquid water. Now when we get to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, that ratio jumps up 10 to 1. 10 inches of snow is equivalent to 1 inch of water. And then at 25 degrees, we drop it another 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and we get the ratio now to go to 15 to 1. 15 inches of snow is equivalent to 1 inch of liquid water. And the colder you get, the higher the snow to liquid ratio. So if we also have an example down here in the bottom left, so let's say our temperature is around 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And at 20 degrees Fahrenheit, let's say, we have 1 inch of liquid, 1 inch of water. It's 20 degrees Fahrenheit. That would yield a 15 to 1 ratio. 15 inches of snow at 20 degrees Fahrenheit would yield 1 inch of liquid water. Now, if we lower that by we increase this by 8 degrees Fahrenheit, so now we go up to 28 degrees Fahrenheit, that ratio then decreases from 15 to 1 to 10 to 1. 10 inches of snow is equivalent to 1 inch of liquid. So it's important to examine how much liquid equivalent you have available, or how much QPF that you see over your area, because you can generally decipher based on the forecasted temperatures what type of snow to liquid ratio you'd have. So very interesting. I wanted to show you this chart. Okay, and over here on the right, we're showing you the National Weather Service Wakefield forecast for the Virginia Beach area, showing temperatures tomorrow. The blue bars are here on the very bottom of the graphic, showing the snow. But generally, our temperatures are ranging from anywhere from 28 degrees to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So with that being said, if we examine this upper left-hand graphic another time, to look at the snow to liquid ratios, air temperatures between 28 and 32, or rather 28 and 30, right in this area, we're probably looking at a 11 to 1 ratio, maybe a 12 to 1 ratio at the most. 12 inches of snow equal to 1 inch of liquid. Generally in that range of 10 to 1 to 12 to 1 here for this snowstorm coming up. So very important to look at that. And by the way, I did look at the liquid equivalent before I cut the video here, and it was about 1.04 total liquid equivalent for the Virginia Beach area. All right, so now let's examine the latest modeling here as of midday today, the 18th of February 25. So here's the forecast on the left for the European model, the operational model, for Thursday 00Z. So this will be Wednesday, tomorrow evening, Wednesday the 19th of February at about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Clearly you see darker greens coming into the coastal areas, eastern portions of North Carolina up to southeast Virginia. and that's equivalent to that water equivalent I was just mentioning on the previous slide for this particular time frame tomorrow evening. And we see the darker greens extending up again up the coast into southeast Virginia, and that yields this graphic here on the right, where you see the latest European snowfall forecast. Now this is using a 10-to-1 ratio. So it might look different on the Pivotal weather site, but I'm looking at weathermodels.com and using their graphic. But in general, it's got a good swath of 8 to 10 inches of snow across all of southeast Virginia, including the Hampton Road cities. The higher amounts on the European model, up to 11 inches, right there along the Virginia-North Carolina border. The highest amounts are generally into far northeastern North Carolina, about a foot of snow in this lighter pink area. And this again is the latest European operational forecast model as of midday today. The area of low pressure by tomorrow evening will be positioned off the South Carolina coast. Looking at the GFS model, this is the same time period, Wednesday evening, 19th February, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Look at the darker blues overspreading southeast Virginia by this point in time. Heavier snow. The snow's picking up in intensity over Hampton Roads. South of the area, you got the pink, which is going to be your mixing. And then you got a 1010 millibar low in the GFS model, pretty similar to the positioning of the European model, just off the South Carolina coast. This system is starting to strengthen at this point, and it will continue to slowly drift to the north-northeast, parallel to the North Carolina coastline. And here is the latest GFS 12Z midday model run forecast for snow, showing about 8 to 9 inches across Hampton Roads. The heaviest amounts, the heaviest bullseye over southeastern Virginia into northeastern North Carolina. Looking at the Canadian model now, very similar placement of the low. Notice how the modeling is coming into much better agreement now within 24 hours out from the storm. It's a 10-12 millibar low. The Canadians got the low a little bit closer to the coast, kind of like right on that South Carolina, North Carolina, the state line there, just right offshore of that. Darker blues again, northeast North Carolina into southeast Virginia. Some mixing issues into parts of east central North Carolina, but it's all snow across Hampton Roads and parts of far northern and northeastern North Carolina on the Canadian. The snowfall forecast on the right-hand side from the Canadian, showing generally 9 to 10 inches, with higher amounts up to a foot of snow just south of the Virginia state line into far northeastern North Carolina. So again, 8 to 10 inches looks very doable here on the Canadian model, very similar to the GFS, very similar to the European. So you notice how it's all aligning. One other thing I want to you to pay attention to is this orientation of the heavier snow band from southwest to northeast across far northeastern North Carolina and southeast Virginia. I mean, this is just really one of those storms that can really produce big amounts. It's very localized. Look over here on this graphic on the left. Look at how that cutoff of the snow and no snow line occurs. And some of the biggest snowstorms I have witnessed in Hampton Roads area have this signature. The coast gets walloped, and then you go further inland toward Richmond, and you're talking lesser amounts. Let's look at the Icon model. Now, this is the 12Z run. The 18Z is now out. Very similar model output here for the 18Z. So everything, again, model-wise is locking in pretty much with the Icon model. What I want to say about the Icon model is this model has been pretty consistent the last 2 days on the placement of the snow to the north here across northern and northeastern North Carolina and southeast Virginia, and where the low has been stamped. It's got low pressure generally off the South Carolina coast, and the heavier snow up to the north here across southeast Virginia and northern north and northeastern North Carolina. Here are the snow amounts forecast over here on the right. Now, this is the 12Z forecast, so this was ranging from about 7 to 9 inches across Hampton Road cities on the Icon model. But it has, since this time, this model is now at 6 to 12 inches across southeastern Virginia. Now, as we get within the 24-hour time frame, we need to examine some of the higher resolution mesoscale models. Let's start with a 3-kilometer NAM. This is from the midday run at 12Z. 18Z is now out. I'll have to take a look at it in a moment, but I'm not expecting a lot of change to this being within 24 hours. The low pressure off the coast of South Carolina on the NAM. This is the same time period. Well, actually, this is a little bit earlier. So this is 5 p.m. tomorrow on the 19th of February, 2025. This is tomorrow, getting into early evening, but clearly the darker blues, heavier snow rates across southeastern Virginia into northeastern North Carolina again. Mix south of that along the coast of North Carolina, and then rain generally south of that. Here are the snow totals for the NAM 3K. Whoa! The midday run was going 9 to 11 inches across southeastern Virginia. But you really can clearly see the bullseye of the heaviest snow, southeast Virginia to northeastern North Carolina. How about the 1 kilometer FV3 high-res radar reflectivity? This is a 4-panel I put together, blue being snow, pink mixture, green rain. We're starting over here in the upper left. This is for about 5 p.m. Tomorrow evening, showing clearly that low pressure off the South Carolina coast. We got that broad shield of snow across northeastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia. Over here on the upper right, we're now moving ahead in time. This is, this will be, let's see, that'd be 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, Eastern time. That shield of snow clearly in place across southeastern Virginia. Low pressure still generally offshore of the South Carolina coast. And then over here in bottom left, we're showing this would be 9 p.m. tomorrow evening, Eastern time, showing a much heavier band of snow setting up across Hampton Roads. And then over here on the far right, we see the low pressure now starting to move a little bit more close to the coast on this 1 kilometer FV3 high resolution radar reflectivity. We do see a lot of deformation type banding of the snow off the western Atlantic into the Hampton Roads area. Now, what really will be key for the snowfall totals when you go to this kind of resolution, 1 kilometer, is the banding, the finer mesoscale type banding features. So we'll have to keep an eye on where that sets up exactly tomorrow evening. Here's the official National Weather Service forecast. Now this one was issued 2:40 a.m. Eastern time this morning, really early, but nothing has changed with this graphic, okay? I took a look at the latest update from the National Weather Service brief, the Wakefield office. 8 to 12 is still in the same location. They have not really moved these totals around very much. And here's the overview from the National Weather Service office in Wakefield. Winter storm warning is currently in place from tomorrow through Thursday. You see what's going on here. They talk about the low pressure developing Wednesday and lifting northeast up the coast Wednesday night into Thursday, and we can expect moderate to locally heavy snow across central and southern portions of the area, and snow may mix with sleet or freezing rain. It may cut back on the totals down across northeastern North Carolina. But we are expecting the snow to spread into the region Wednesday morning, late morning, between 10 a.m. and noon. The bulk of the snow is coming down Wednesday afternoon, evening, before tapering off early Thursday morning. But there is an upper level low to the northwest, and that's going to kind of pivot through the area behind this departing storm, and it could produce another burst of snow Thursday morning. The big things are travel is going to be very difficult across Hampton Roads for both Wednesday and Thursday. There could be some isolated power outages as well. Here is the high-end chance graphic that was updated at 4:45 a.m. this morning, showing 14 inches across Hampton Roads. This is the 1 in 10 chance, though. So this is a very slim chance of this occurring, but they always list the high-end potential amount in inches here for snowstorms. The Wakefield office does, but it shows 14 inches. I looked at this before doing this video. It's about 15 inches now, so it's not much different, but it highlights the same areas here. This orange indicates 12 to 18 inches of snow. So 14 to 15 is the upper limit, but again, that's only a 10% chance of that occurring. So don't get wrapped up into these numbers and think, oh my gosh, it's going to actually be 14 inches. This is just a probability of higher end, the very max potential totals for the storm. 1 in 10, 10% chance of these 14 inches occurring. Over here on the right, this is the Winter Storm Severity Index, and it shows clearly Here in Hampton Roads in southeastern Virginia, major impacts expected from the storm. Considerable disruptions to daily life in this red area here. Dangerous or impossible driving conditions. Avoid traveling if possible. While you just don't want to be out there. The snow removal equipment across Hampton Roads is not as robust, say if you lived in Boston or even Chicago. There are plows out there dropping the brine. In fact, they pre-treated the roads. This morning, I noticed the white lines on the roads. So they pre-treated the roads already, to try to help reduce the slippery travel impacts. But during the snow, you probably don't want to be out there driving. It's very hazardous. All right, and I forgot to change this. This is my last slide. This is now actually my summary slide, not my overview. So this is what I'm thinking here for our storm. We're definitely going to have a winter storm. I mean, we're within 24 hours, 100% chance of that occurring. It's going to occur Wednesday, right into Thursday morning. The snow starts really between 10 a.m. and noon in Hampton Roads on Wednesday. So tomorrow between 10 and noon, we're expecting significant accumulations for Hampton Roads. It's kind of been that bullseye in the modeling for the last couple of days. And, the NAM occasionally kind of moves back and forth with the heaviest snow accumulations, but it's generally still in the same area here in Hampton Roads. The heaviest snow rates, honestly, we think it'll be more light snow initially when it starts. And then heaviest snow rates are going to occur 4 p.m. through midnight tomorrow night. I think there'll be some lingering snow showers with minor additional accumulations on Thursday morning, but that's really due to that upper level vorticity or upper level piece of energy rotating through behind the departing storm. So we're looking at maybe an additional inch of snow on top of the main event, which will be late tomorrow morning through about midnight tomorrow night. So this is what we're expecting right now based on all the modeling I've examined today. 6 to 10 inches of snow area-wide across Hampton Roads. This is going to have major impacts for our area. I'm expecting 6 to 8 inches for the Norfolk area, 8 to 10 inches, locally 11 inches in isolated spots for southern Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. And then the heaviest amounts are going to be closest to the coast and closest to that Virginia-North Carolina state line, where we could see up to a foot of snow down towards the state line and maybe just right across the state line into parts of North Carolina, far northeastern North Carolina. But a couple things have really come in tune here today, all right? And that typically happens within 24 hours of a major storm. The orientation, and you clearly see it in all the modeling, okay? Start with the European. We clearly see this northeast to southwest heavy band of snow. It's a little bit further south on the latest 12Z European run, where 12 to 13 inches are occurring across northeastern North Carolina, just south of the state line, maybe into parts of southern Virginia Beach, and then it's mainly 8 to 10 across Hampton Roads. And you notice how it tapers off drastically to the northwest as that colder, drier air works in from the northwest. We're talking 3 to 5 inches, then dwindling down to 2 to 3 inches the further inland you get away from the coast. And one of the biggest things I thought about, now let me continue my thought here about the orientation. So we looked at the European orientation, we looked at the GFS orientation, the same spot, orientated the same way, northwest to southeast across Hampton Roads. We look at the Canadian model, same location, northwest to southeast orientation for the heaviest snows across Hampton Roads. The Canadians got the heaviest snow going south of the Virginia border, down to about 12 inches, a foot of snow. It's kind of similar to this. The Canadian and the European really agree with the heaviest being just south of the Virginia line into far northeastern North Carolina. But in general, it's a big hit either way you cut it. Look at the Icon model, northeast to southwest orientation of the heaviest snow, same exact location. And then we got the NAM 3K, very similar, same location for the heaviest snow in the NAM 3K. And then the orientation of these radar reflectivity, the blue showing the snow, a southwest to northeast orientation. So everything is lining up there. Really a couple key wildcards here in the amounts. The first thing again is where these mesoscale banding effects set up. In other words, you get these smaller scale, heavier lines or bands of snow in some of these events, especially as a storm system really intensifies offshore. Sometimes you can get these very heavy snow rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour, and we have to watch where that sets up. Does it stay south of Hampton Roads into northeast North Carolina tomorrow evening, or is it over Hampton Roads itself? We'll have to see, because that again is going to enhance the snow totals for parts of the area. But make no mistake about it, this is one of the biggest snowstorms we're going to see since January 2018. That we had just over 10 inches of snow at the Norfolk Airport. I remember that one well. And I think this one's going to be close to that. So we'll keep watching the modeling overnight. I'll keep providing updates on X as well, and on Facebook. So I've been sharing my thoughts on X last night and how I thought things were going to go. This, one of the rare things about this one for Hampton Roads too is a lot of times you get the rain snow line that mixes in, you get the warm nose aloft, elevated warm layer above 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and that kind of makes its way in during a storm and changes snow over to a mix or cold rain briefly, and that cuts back accumulations. Well, we're not going to have that this time. It's going to, the atmospheric profile is below freezing all the way up above the ground, from surface to 10,000 feet. Our temperatures are below freezing. So this is going to be all solid snow event for Hampton Roads. It's going to get slick really quick tomorrow after the snow starts. It's going to stick immediately, so be mindful of that. If you're out and about, just kind of have that in the back of your mind. But overall, I mean, I've been following this stuff. I've been analyzing these charts for years here across Hampton Roads. This is one of those Hampton Roads specials. I mean, you very rarely get both Richmond and Hampton Roads to get hammered with a good snowstorm. Usually on the bigger hits for Hampton Roads, that back end, that northwest edge of the snow line, generally tends to set up between Norfolk area and Richmond. Usually northwest of that line up towards Richmond, you usually have lighter snow amounts. And again, you just drive from Richmond to, let's say, Virginia Beach, 100 miles, and you might go from like 3 inches of snow in Richmond down to like almost a foot of snow in Virginia Beach. I've seen these play out before, and that's usually how these things work out here. So that's all I got for now, everybody, on my winter storm update. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to share this on the social media. Thanks so much for subscribing to my channel, and until next time, take care and God bless everyone. Stay safe in the storm tomorrow, everybody.